Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 26, overall 411 of Live with CDP Sports Talk on this, I can't believe it, Monday, July 8th, 2024. Live with CDP Sports Talk is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is on weekdays from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. I hope everyone's doing well on this Monday, July 8th, 2024, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is his fourth appearance on my show, and I'm going to bring him on right now, and his name is Sal Capaccio. He's the Buffalo Bills sideline reporter and also the co-host of the Extra Point Show daily from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on WGR 550 in Buffalo, New York, and he just got off the air this morning to come on our show, so I'm looking forward to speaking to Sal Capaccio from WGR 550. Good morning, Sal. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Good to talk to you again. Good to see you, man.
Hey, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks. No more co-host though. It's just my co-host, Sneaky Joe DiBiase, is now only doing mornings 6 to 10. So I'm by my lonesome from 10 to 12, which is okay. But we had a little bit of a change there. I'm happy for Joe. He no longer has to do 6 straight hours of radio. So he's only on for 4, and then it's just me. And but then this week, because Jeremy White, who co-hosts with Joe in the morning, had his 3rd child, so he's on paternity leave. So I'll be filling in the mornings all week.
Please congratulate Jeremy for me. And like I said, guys, I still listen to you guys often on WGR in my car. Unfortunately, I can't listen to you online because of the Odyssey here in Canada rule. But unfortunately, hopefully one day we'll get that changed.
Well, you know what? I was in Canada recently. I went to the Toronto for the Yankees-Blue Jays game last week. And I know that you can't do that. So I said, let me see if there's a workaround of what I can do. What did work for me, though, was, Chris, I went to the Odyssey app and I just replayed like the shows from like earlier that day, and they worked. You know what I mean? Like it was a different time. It wasn't live, but they worked on the Odyssey app. I was just you just be a little bit behind, I guess. Right. So there is a workaround there.
Definitely. And how was your show this morning with Sneaky Joe?
Well, it was good. We had a lot to talk about because the Sabres made that trade for Ryan McLeod on Friday in the afternoon. So we hadn't been on the air since then, right? So this is the first time we had a chance to talk about it. Also in the Bananas, which is a great, fantastic baseball show. I went Friday night. Joe went on Sunday. We had a lot to talk about with that. So we talked a lot about that. We talked a lot about the Sabres trade. We had a guest on from Edmonton, so that it was really good.
You guys are going to like Ryan McLeod. I saw him play in the Ontario Hockey League, which is a developmental feeder league for the NHL, and he's a good player, and I think he can be a 20-25 goal scorer for the Sabres coming up. I like the trade a lot.
Well, it'd be nice if he can contribute that much in the goal scoring department. He's never, scored that much, but he'll have a different role in this team, obviously, and he was a little bit buried in Edmonton. But the biggest thing for the Sabres is getting him. He's a very good two-way player. And that's what they need. And he'll really be their anchor of their third line at center. And he's a really good penalty killer, and he's super duper fast. So, they've kind of had a certain type of player they've wanted this offseason. He kind of fits directly into that and what Lindy Ruff wants to do in the style of play.
Before we get to the Bills, what's the mood like in Buffalo with the Sabres right now? Obviously missing the playoffs for the 13th straight year, but bringing back a fan favorite and longtime head coach Lindy Ruff.
Well, it's still one of very much, fans are just very edgy. They many of them are very upset at Kevin Adams because he hasn't been able to do much this offseason until this trade. But partly of that is he's trying, but players aren't willing to move their no trade clause or no movement clause to come to Buffalo. And it's tough to sign players without overpaying. And that's always tough to do. And, fans are edgy, like I said. I think you get two different camps on Lindy Ruff, which are, man, it's great. Lindy really helped them take the next step. They finally need a coach like this. He has success in the league. But you have a lot of other fans that say, why are we going back to something in the past, right? Let's do something new, something fresh. So there's just a lot of discord I think here. And that's to be expected with a team that's missed the playoffs for 13 straight years. I think they've really, really improved their bottom six. So we'll see where they go with the top six. I still think there's work to be done on the roster, especially in the top six. If they can get somebody, they bought out Jeff Skinner. You got to replace his goals, right? I mean, if they can do something to help that area, I think I'll feel a lot better. But I do think they're a better team now than they were at the end of last season.
And it all starts with goaltending. It's just like in football with quarterbacking and hockey as well. And I'm a Red Wings fan, and I'm just happy we're able to keep Buffalo native Patrick Kane for one more year because he obviously still has something left. And I think 1 year at $4 million isn't a big deal. But the Red Wings haven't made the playoffs in 8 years in a row, which is their franchise record. So I'm hoping this year, Sal, both of our teams can get back into the playoffs.
Yeah, I listen. I'm not shedding any tears if the Red Wings don't. They've had enough success. Let the Sabres take their spot. With all due respect, it's all good. But I get it. I mean, Patrick Kane's from Buffalo, and there was some talk about him coming back here a couple of different times over the last few years. But he found a nice landing spot in Detroit, and of course, Steve Yzerman, a heck of a GM over there.
Absolutely. Hey, as for the Savannah Bananas, I applied for tickets in the lottery and I didn't get it. But how good was it? And are they kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball in a way?
It's exactly the way I describe them. It's what I've told everybody. They're the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. And they're fantastic at what they do. And they're really good baseball players. I mean, I saw some moonshots. A couple of guys hit 400-foot home runs in this game. I mean, but they're really good at what they do. And it's not just trying to do tricks, but the way they can, like, for example, like the shortstop, I forget his name, but I mean, he makes a couple great plays and then literally like puts the ball between his legs and before he throws it, and the first baseman reaches behind his back to catch it. I'm like, what is going on here? It's crazy. Center fielder catches the ball and does a backflip as he's catching the ball, right? You've seen a lot of it, but the in-game entertainment, incredible. The things that they do, the entertainment they had, incredible. It was tough to get seats. Sold out all weekend. We were fortunate enough to go with our travel baseball team on a group tickets. They do a lot of group stuff beforehand, as they're setting it all up and putting tickets out there before the general public. So we were able to take advantage of that. And it was really cool. One of our kids, actually, believe it or not, and 16,000 people are in the stands. And the only time the ball was caught by a fan was one of our kids, one of the kids that I coach on my travel baseball team, 10-year-old. And the rule is if a fan catches the ball, the player's out. That's a cool rule.
That's awesome. And sold out crowd. So I'm assuming they'll be back in Buffalo next summer too.
I'm assuming they'll want to definitely come back here. This is Buffalo, Salem Field is the biggest minor league stadium in the country. So why would they not want to come to a place like this and sell it out again, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of them, the city of Buffalo has been really great with my media work too. The Buffalo Bandits, who are back-to-back NLL champs, and the Buffalo Bisons. I was just down there a week ago doing some player interviews and stuff like that. Both first-class organizations, especially the Bandits, who just know how to. They're like the New England Patriots of lacrosse.
Yeah, they are a very successful franchise. Won the title this year back-to-back after they had been there a couple times recently and lost. They had won titles back in the day. We went to the final championship game. It was great to see a Buffalo sports team win a championship, to be right there. It was super cool.
Hey, Sal, I wanted to bring up Friday, July 12th, Sal's house. I guess you're going to have Stevie Johnson. Can you tell my audience a little bit about more of this?
Yeah, so one of the projects that I do, I have my own video podcast, as you do here, in addition to the other things I do on WGR and Odyssey. It's called Sal's House. And the reason it's called that is it was really started as bringing people to my house and talking, but that became a little challenging with scheduling. So we can do things virtually these days, like you and I. But we still call it Sal's House. We just take Sal's house on the road. Sometimes I'm at my house. Sometimes I'm somewhere else. And what we're doing is, one of my main sponsors is Sports City Pizza Pub on Niagara Street in Buffalo. And this Friday, July 12th, we're going to do a Sal's House taping from Sports City, bringing Sal's House on the road there. And Stevie Johnson, former Buffalo Bills wide receiver, is going to be there. We're doing it at 1 o'clock. If fans want to come by and want to meet Stevie and his business partner, who somebody I happen to know as well, just even independent of Stevie, they created a game. It's called Red Zone Football. It's literally like you just play football in the red zone area, basically passes. You have to have so many passes before you get the ball on the net. It's a really cool game, but it's really great for kids. It's now in YMCAs and schools around the country. They're promoting it. I'm helping them promote it, but I also have Stevie to talk about football, of course. And we're going to do this. It's going to be really cool. We'll have some wings and some drinks, and we'll talk football. And it's going to be at Sports City Pizza Pub on Niagara Street, 1 o'clock taping. It's not a live show. We're going to do it. We'll tape it, and then I'll put it up on my YouTube page, which is Sal Sports on YouTube, right after it's done.
Yeah, if I have some free time Friday, maybe I'm tempted to come up to Buffalo again. And how far is it from the KeyBank Center?
It's 10 minutes, like just 2 miles probably.
Okay.
10 minutes on traffic. It's about 2 miles away.
Buffalo's like my second home because, like I said, Sal, I spent a lot of time with the Bandits and the Bison. So
no, it's right down. I mean, KeyBank Center is right downtown, and literally Sports City Pizza Pub is on the west side, which is right down the river. Actually, so KeyBank Center, Peace Bridge, Sports City. Basically, it's the way it works.
And how long is the taping? About a half an hour?
We usually go, something like this will probably go a good 40, 45 minutes, I'm sure, with Stevie and, showing off the game and things like that. And hopefully we'll get started right at 1 o'clock. It takes me a little while to get there and set up. I got my show until I'm doing my show 10 to 12 on Friday. I'll take my show. I'll head over there. I'll set up and we'll be good.
Stevie Johnson lives in the area too then?
No, he does not.
No? Okay.
He's coming in for a separate event he has at Highmark Stadium that night. So that's why it works for him. But Stevie comes back to Buffalo a lot. He gives back to the community. He does not live here.
Okay. But a lot of current athletes and former athletes love living in the Western New York area, I hear.
Yeah, for sure. Thurman Thomas, Jim Kelly, Steve Tasker, lots of hockey players who've retired. Scotty Bowman still, owns a house here, I believe. I know he did a couple of years ago, but for sure, lots of guys still, live in this area and still are a part of this community, very much so.
By the way, one of the guests, I was on a show on Friday night. I want to say hi to Robbie Schneider from the 716 Sports Blizzard podcast. He had me on his show, and he is such a huge Bills fan, and he had you on his show a couple years ago. Yep. So I wanted to give Robbie Schneider a shout out.
Robbie does a really good job.
Absolutely. And myself and Nick were kind of educating him on the CFL and the Toronto Argonauts because he's taken a little bit of interest in football over here as well.
That's awesome, man. Good to hear that. I don't watch a lot of CFL, but if there's a game on and there's nothing going on, I might check it out. But I know you follow it really well. But we did go to Australia in March, and I actually went to my first ever professional rugby game.
How did you like it?
I loved it. It was great. And I learned a lot about the rules. I didn't know about all the pitching and the number, like 6 times. Do you know the rules? You probably do.
No. No.
You have to have only get 6 kind of pitches to get it over the goal. And it's just, there's a lot of things you have to learn, but learning about the rules was cool for me.
And we do have a lot of kickers in the CFL that have played rugby in Australia. And I think the NFL too, as well. Some really good kickers come out of Australia.
Yeah. And, everybody told me when I went there, oh, these guys, you should get linebackers from rugby because these guys know how to tackle. And that is true. They do have really good form. But I noticed something watching the game, which is rugby's a lot different than American football, which is they don't attack. They wait, and then as the runner gets to them, then they tackle them. They're not instinctive. That's not the game. The game is not to be instinctive and go attack as a linebacker. So as much as their form is right, I don't think it would translate for them to come here because the NFL is about diagnosing and going to the spot. Whereas in rugby, it's more about waiting for them to come to you.
I'm going to have to learn more about rugby as well. But hey, the CFL, they're in week 6, and I do some coverage for the Argonauts and that. And I'm lucky here, Sal. I love the NFL. I love the CFL and college football. So almost the whole year I have football going on, and just looking forward. And speaking of the NFL, training camp for the Bills starts in a couple weeks. I believe July 24th at St. Fisher's University, just outside of Rochester.
St. John Fisher, yes.
And I wanted to get to this question first, but just quick thoughts on John Murphy stepping down as the Bills play-by-play announcer, I guess due to his health and the stroke, and how much impact has he had on Bills Mafia and the local media industry in Buffalo? And do you feel in the future there might be a role for John still with the team?
Yeah, I mean, look, John has been a fixture in Buffalo sports media for decades. I grew up watching John as the sports director on WKBW TV Channel 7 in Buffalo. Then he went to Channel 4 and he was there. And John was the color commentator for Van Miller, the great Van Miller, who was the play-by-play man. He's been on Bill's broadcast for a long time. He's done so much different play-by-play he's hosted radio shows. I used to listen to his show growing up. And then to have a chance to work with John on the Bills radio broadcast it's just been amazing for me in my career. And I always tell people this, without John, I might not be the sideline reporter. He's the one that actually suggested that I actually have that role when there was an opening. And I'm forever grateful to John for doing that. It's unfortunate. It's not the way that Murph wanted to end his play-by-play career at the Bills, but due to his health and the stroke that he had a couple of years ago, year and a half ago now, it's something that, unfortunately it's led to this. But at the same time, he's been in the radio booth for most of our broadcasts the last year or so, all last season, where he'd be there and kind of watch, and I'd see him, we'd hang out. As far as his role and, coming up future broadcasts, I don't know. That's not something for me to decide. I know that John, there's been a lot of talk about him and him wanting to do it. So, hey, I'm all for it. If we can fit John in some way, I think I'd love to be able to work with him in some capacity, but I don't really know from his aspect or Odyssey or the Bills, what the future holds there.
I know this is a little bit too early, but I would like to see his name up on the Bills Wall of Fame at some point, as well as alongside Van Miller as well.
Yeah, he's certainly legendary. I think he's an icon in all of Buffalo sports media, let alone just the Bills. As much as he's been the Bills play-by-play guy and fixture for so many years, that's a that's a man who kind of transcends a lot of Buffalo sports media going back decades. But that's a great thought.
I shouldn't say the word assume, but Chris Brown, I'm guessing it'll be Chris and Eric again in the booth with you this season.
There is an open position right now, and they are going through that process. So I can't really speak on it much, to be quite honest with you. But I'm sure that over the next couple of weeks, there'll be some sort of announcement on, who that's going to be.
But I just wanted to say as well, I think Chris Brown has done a nice job the last year and a half filling in for Van Miller as well. It's not easy.
For John, you mean for John Murphy?
Yeah, John Murphy, yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
I think so too. And Chris has been great to work with. And so has Eric, obviously. So, hey, if it's the same booth again, we'll run it back and it'll be great again. If it's somebody else in there, we'll be great doing that. But, we'll see where it goes. And I know that they've been going through that process of finding a, permanent replacement, as Chris has been the interim here for a little while, finding whether that's Chris or someone else, we'll see.
All right. This leads to my next question, Sal. Assessment of Stephon Diggs' 4 years in Buffalo and your thoughts on his trade to the Houston Texans.
Well, I mean, Stephon is one of the greatest receivers in Bills history. He didn't last as long as a lot of other guys you'd put on that list, but he put up the same kind of numbers and more numbers and better numbers than guys who played a lot longer in Buffalo. He had a huge impact. This team has been incredibly successful over the last 4 years. I believe they're the second winningest organization in the NFL over the last 5 years. That's 1 year before Stephon got here, but his arrival coincided with Josh Allen's ascension. And obviously he had a big part to do with that. So his 4 years in Buffalo, wildly successful, both for him personally and for the Buffalo Bills. Unfortunately, not a Super Bowl appearance, not a Super Bowl championship. We all know that that's the end game and that's the goal. It didn't work out that way. As far as the trade, I understand why the Bills did it from a standpoint of where he is in his career and his age and the contract and the money. At the same time, it leaves a complete big void at their number one wide receiver. They obviously have shifted away from having a true number one to going with more of a bunch of guys who can maybe fill in different roles and kind of have a group that can kind of, I guess I don't want to say quantity or quality. I don't want to say it that way, but I think that they're going with more of a by committee approach. So we'll see if it works out. I'm very skeptical, at the top of the wide receiver depth chart right now to see what it looks like. But that seems like an area where we're going to be talking a lot about over the next few weeks into training camp, into the regular season. There's 180 targets basically to be handed out here. And you got 270 targets, I think, is with him and Gabe Davis both being gone. So where does that go? What does that look like? There's a lot of questions here. But I think the Bills, it was all part of a whole plan and situation where they've kind of had to reset the financial structure of the organization going forward in the next iteration of the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen's second window here.
You know what? And the Chiefs last year, obviously, they won with Travis Kelce, but they did it was by committee too. And I think you can do that. And the Bills still have some talent. Shakir, I'm a huge fan of his. I'd love to see him in Philadelphia, but I really like that rookie tight end of yours, Dalton Kincaid. I think his second year, I think you're gonna see more out of him as well.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Dalton's going to be a big focus of the offense this year. I'm not going to put him in the same, breath as Travis Kelce. There's a lot to go there, but I think that he'll become like the Chiefs' Kelce when the Chiefs transitioned away from Tyreek Hill. And everybody said, "Well, who's their receivers?" Well, guess what? They had this incredible tight end who was really their number one receiver. I think you might see that from Dalton Kincaid and the way they want to use him. And don't forget, they also have Dawson Knox. James Cook out of the backfield. It's not just the receivers. I think the Bills are building this group where they have all these different positions and all these different guys who can catch the football and want to utilize them that way.
James Cook's a very talented running back, but Sal, I want to ask you: do you feel this year he might be more complete than last year? And do you feel his pass protection is going to be improved from last year?
I mean, listen, I don't think it was horrible last year. That he got better as the year went on. I think it was a question about him in preseason. I think he was okay at it, but I don't know how much more of a improvement you can ask for a guy that was basically. Let's see where he ranked. I just brought it up here. Rushing yards per game, or say rushing. Rushing attempts, rushing yards from scrimmage last year, 6th in the NFL. Rushing yards, 4th in the NFL. All-purpose yards, 6th in the NFL. I mean, hey. You want to improve on that and go top 2 or 3, that's great. But I think he's already kind of ascended to that player where he's already a big part of the offense and one of the best, all-purpose, all-around running backs in the National Football League.
And I'm still old school. I still believe in a balanced offense. And I think with the Bills, I think they're still going to have a very good team. I wanted to get to you this, Sal. Is this team in 2024 still a contender in the AFC, in your opinion, Sal?
Not just in the AFC, but the entire NFL. I mean, they still have Josh Allen. They still have a really good team, and they have number 17, and that's what matters most. Can't win without a really good quarterback, and in this case, an elite quarterback, and that always gives you another chance. Now, look, the roster's been changed over a little bit. There's some questions. There's no doubt. There's guys recovering from injury like Matt Milano, like Von Miller. A lot of questions there. We'll see what happens. They also have a tougher schedule this year. And then you have the Jets with Aaron Rodgers probably healthy. You have the Dolphins doing what they're doing. It will be a grind. We'll see what happens. They could have the same type of talent and have a lesser season. Also, last year, they had a lot of injuries at the end of the year. If they stay healthy, maybe they're even better. Who knows? But absolutely. I mean, I think they're number 5 or 6 in the Vegas odds to win the Super Bowl. So obviously, the people in Vegas still believe in them. And, they don't build casinos the way they do because they lose money.
X factor for the Bills this year, from my perspective, an outsider's perspective, I think Von Miller, if he's healthy, I think if he can have any more, if he can still do it, I think he could be a huge impact on the Bills defense.
Oh, no doubt. Probably the X factor for me as well. Von Miller he doesn't have to be what Von Miller was in his prime, but if Von Miller can even be close to what he was when he first showed up to Buffalo, boy, that would be unbelievable for this team. And if not, they might have to go out and see if they have another edge rusher, because who's really the guy that teams are concentrating on when it comes to a big third down? They have to stop on the Buffalo Bills. They have good parts. They have Greg Rousseau. They have AJ Epinesa. They signed Casey Tuhill. They have good parts, but do they really have, they don't have Leonard Floyd anymore either, right? That's a big loss for them after last year. And he was a free agent. He earned the right to, go and sign. He signs with the Niners. So I agree with you. If I had to pick one X factor, it's probably the health and return of Von Miller and where that goes.
And you still have Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau. So I think this team, the core of it's still pretty solid as long as he can stay healthy. And that's another thing, too. During a football season, you don't know when injuries are going to occur. So it's important for them to have depth. Sal, do you have 2 more minutes for 2 more questions?
Sure, I do.
Okay. Sal, thoughts on the Bills 2024 draft picks, including wide receiver Keon Coleman, and do you feel he can contribute as a rookie in his first year?
Well, he better contribute as a rookie in his first year. I mean, the Bills have said straight out, like they're going to have to rely on him. This is not a situation anymore where they can just develop these, younger guys and then bring them on slower. And, they got to play now. The roster has transitioned a little bit. They've lost some players. We talked about no more Diggs, no more Davis. Guy like Keon Coleman's got to play right away. So do I think he can? Yes. The question is, how much can he give you? What's his role going to be exactly? How does he fit in there? And what's the learning curve? But he's going to have to step in right away. As far as the overall draft class, I mean, you're going to have guys that are going to have to step right in. Like, again, Ray Davis, running back. You talk about the running back position with James Cook. That's a guy that he's already 24 years old. I mean, he wasn't brought in here to wait a year, right? You're going to have to use him. He's probably a short yardage type of guy, more of a, downhill type of back. I really like Cole Bishop, their second round pick, the safety, who I think probably starts at some point, maybe not right away. He'll have a role, nickel, whatever. But that's a guy I think could have a nice career, and he seems like he's going to be a really nice fit for what the Bills want to do, on defense. These are guys that are going to have to come in, they're going to play right away. So, yeah, I mean, you have guys, Javon Solomon, they drafted him. This guy, he led all of FBS college football in sacks last year, and comes from a school in Troy that was, O.C. Umenyiora went there, and another name I'm blanking on right now, but this is a guy that, can he transition to the NFL and give you a little bit at the pass rush spot? So they're going to have these guys play. You're not in a position now with the Buffalo Bills to just wait on these rookies. And even if they're mid-round picks, hopefully they can contribute. So, that's what this draft was about.
Should be an interesting training camp. And you know what? I'm still a preseason guy. I think the 3 games, that should give the coaching staff enough time to evaluate some of these guys that are trying to make the team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, eventually it'll be 2 preseason games. They'll go to 18. I think that's going to happen at some point down the road. But you also have, you have 3 weeks of training camp. You have the few preseason games. They can set up scrimmages with other teams. We'll see. The Bills still haven't decided. Said if there's nothing on the schedule now, but you never know. That could wind up happening still. So there's going to be enough time to evaluate whatever that setting is.
I know the CFL back in 1986 went down to 2 preseason games and 18 games. So I'm assuming the NFL is going to follow that way in the next year or so. I guess they have to go through the NFLPA Association.
They do. I would not count on it in the next year. I think that would be maybe a little ambitious. The CBA expires in 4 years.
Okay.
The NFLPA does not want to go to 18 games, but eventually, because of money and because of concessions and what they'll get, I'm sure it will happen at some point. I don't know if it would happen. I don't think it would happen by next year. It might happen in a couple of years. And who knows? Maybe they do speed up the process and say, we'll give you this and give you that. Here's more revenue for you. And that could happen by next year. But to me, this is something that you're looking at the very least when the CBA expires, and the new CBA would be 2030, 2031.
All right, Sal. And finally, what's the latest update on the Bills' new stadium? How does it look right now?
Well, it's coming along real quick. People drive down Abbott Road and they know where the Buffalo Bills current stadium is. You look off to the right and bam, I mean, it is big and right in your face, because the current stadium goes underground, as you know, and you're only seeing the top. Like if you see on I think you see my hands here, that would be like the lights, and everything below me would be like the field. The new stadium's up like this. It's huge. So it's above ground, the whole thing. The new stadium will be, the top of the structure of the stadium will be 20 to 30 feet higher than the lights of the current stadium. That's how big it is. So no matter where you are in that area, you'll see it driving around. It looks fantastic. I've done the stadium experience to kind of learn about it. We've sat in with people who are involved with construction and all the things that went into it. And it's going to be, I think what the thing is, Chris, that people don't realize here in Buffalo, because we haven't had one in 50 years, you're not just getting a new stadium and an upgrade. Like, oh yeah, you're upgrading the stadium. No, this isn't like a renovated Highmark. You're going to have the best stadium in the NFL essentially for a few years. I mean, all the brand new, newest, best, everything you can think of. Obviously no dome. I understand that. People want a dome. We can have that debate all day, but that's not happening. But this is going to be a state-of-the-art world stadium. And I say that because it'll be just like a lot of the stadiums in the world that have been built over the last several years, and Tottenham Hotspur is the stadium it's modeled after. And I think that's like 10, 15 years old now. But that's kind of the way that it'll look like that, but with 2024, technology and designs.
What I like about it is their Bills are going to go to, they still go into a grass field.
They are. It'll be a grass field, be heated underneath, just like, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, I think they heat, but yes, they are moving away from turf to a grass field in the new stadium.
And the Toronto Argonauts are the only team in the CFL that play on a grass field, and they do such a great job at BMO Field with the service for the soccer team and the football team. And nowadays there is technology where you can look after a grass field even during the harshest conditions. So I think that's a huge factor for the Bills, because I'm sure most of the players still prefer playing on grass over the turf.
Oh, I think so too. I mean, I've talked with players and people in the league who think that the NFL should make it a rule, but that's not really what they're going to do. These teams, these owners, they build these stadiums, and I don't see that happening. Like a rule just to have turf, but I mean to have grass. Excuse me, but I think players would definitely prefer that.
All right, Sal, and we're going to wrap this up. Where can my audience follow you on social media and your latest on the Extra Point Show daily from 10 to 12 on WGR? And when's your next podcast show coming out?
Well, actually, Matt Bove and I, he's the sports director here in Buffalo at Channel 7 WKBW. It's always game day in Buffalo. It's part of the Odyssey Network. It's, affiliate WGR, and it's just a Bills podcast. I'm actually going to record with him right after I'm done with you. So we're going to do that today. So we'll put that out there later today. We haven't done anything over the July 4th break, so we've got a lot of catching up to do. So we'll talk about that, and we'll do some stuff with that. I'll put it out there. You can always follow me at Sal Sports on Twitter, on Instagram, pretty much anywhere. Facebook, my YouTube channel is all at Sal Sports. I have Sal's House, which is my own independent video cast that I do. So check it out. And then every day 10 to 12 on WGR. But this week, mostly 6 to 10 as I fill in on the morning show.
All right, Sal, I'm going to let you save your voice because 4 hours of talking is a lot. But I want to say thank you so much for coming on my show for a fourth time. And hopefully we'll run into you, if not this Friday in Buffalo, maybe at Bill's training camp, because I would like to come up there and check it out sometime as well.
Absolutely, buddy. Thanks for having me on again.
Thanks a lot, Sal. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed Season 8, Episode 26 with Sal Capaccio from WGR 550 and also the sideline reporter for the National Football League's Buffalo Bills. And before we wrap up today's show, guys, I'm going to play an interview I did last week in Buffalo with the voice of the Syracuse Mets. His name is Michael Tricarico. And he does their games on 1260 The Score in Syracuse, New York. So here's the voice of the Syracuse Mets, courtesy of my YouTube channel. Chris Palme here live at Salem Field in downtown Buffalo for today's matchup between the 50 and 29 Syracuse Mets taking on the 38 and 41 Buffalo Bisons at 105 today. And I have a special guest with me. He is a play-by-play voice for the Syracuse Mets on 1260 The Score in Syracuse. His name's Michael Tricarico. And Michael, thoughts on the series between the Mets and the Bisons?
Yeah, so far it has been one of those weeks where Buffalo's lost some of their players up to Toronto. They've lost some guys to injuries, of course, and the lineup's not quite the same as it was maybe earlier this season for Buffalo, and Syracuse has taken full advantage of it. It's a Mets team that has been really, really good all season long, really consistent, one of the best pitching staffs in the league, and that offense, 1 through 9, there really isn't any breaks in it, whether it's 7, 8, 9 in that order or 1, 2, 3. It's a Mets lineup that can really wear you down, I think, over time. I think you saw that especially with what Syracuse did in the extra inning game on Saturday, really wearing down Mason Fluharty, who's been one of the best pitchers for Buffalo and one of the better pitchers in the Toronto organization. So, it's a Syracuse team that's done really well, obviously has had a really good week in Buffalo, but they've had a really good season so far this year. It's been one of the best teams in Syracuse baseball history through the first 75, 80 games. So I think it's a Syracuse team that'll probably continue to perform well, and we'll see what Buffalo can bring moving forward, because these two teams will face each other in just a couple of weeks.
Thoughts on manager Dick Scott and the coaching staff with the Syracuse Mets, and what makes this team so dangerous going into the second half of the season?
Yeah, so I mean, the coaching staff's been awesome. It's a really good mix of some experienced guys, of course. I mean, Dick Scott, he managed some of the lower levels back in the 90s. A guy who obviously played for a few years and got just a brief cup of coffee in the major leagues himself. And he's been a guy who's been a director of player development. He has developed coaches within the Mets organization. Prior to this, he spent some time in the Toronto Blue Jays organization as well, when the Syracuse, at the time Chiefs, were an affiliate with the Toronto Blue Jays. So, Dick Scott's been around. He has a lot of experience. And some of the other coaches, pitching coach, hitting coach, come from this kind of new school style of analytics and analyzing data, while also mixing in, the old school style of still going over the mechanics and whatnot. But I think when you mix that experience that a guy like Dick Scott brings, in addition to the new school ways of of Colin Hetzler and Grayson Crawford, the hitting coach and pitching coach. It's really worked out well, and the entire team has really bought in to what this organization with the New York Mets is really preaching. And I think that's why, as soon as one or two guys see results, the rest of the team looks and goes, okay, I'm going to buy in just like those guys bought in, and it's worked out well.
Now, AAA baseball is a developmental league, but also you want to win. How hard is it for a manager and coaching staff? You want to develop players to get them to the major leagues, but you also want to win some ball games on top of it.
Yeah, it can be difficult, right? All across the minor leagues, I say, the AAA team and all the minor league affiliates are there to serve at the pleasure of the big league ball club. At the end of the day, there might be times, and I think we saw that, just this week, maybe Syracuse couldn't use a certain pitcher or two out of the bullpen because they might be going up to the bigs. I think on Saturday, Matt Festa was a guy who we thought, hey, he might come out of the bullpen because he's been one of the better pitchers. Well, it turns out he gets called up on Sunday to the New York Mets. So he was just a guy, I'm sure that the big league team told the guys here in AAA, hey, you got to stay away from these certain pitchers. And at the end of the day, you want to win, but you still have to develop these guys. You still have to make sure these guys are ready to go up to the big leagues. But if you talk to guys all throughout the New York Mets organization, they say, look, yes, we want to develop. We want to make sure that when these guys get to the big leagues, they're ready to go. But they still want to build a winning culture. And that's exactly what they've been able to do, especially this season with Syracuse.
Who are some players to keep an eye out for today for the Syracuse Mets here today against Buffalo at 105?
Yeah, I think first guy you got to pay attention to is Luis Angel Acuna, one of the top three prospects for the New York Mets organization, a guy who's just electric, right? Ronald Acuna Jr.'s younger brother, who's the reigning National League most valuable player. Plays a little bit different. Luis Angel plays a little different than his older brother does. Maybe not quite the power hitter, although he did hit a home run yesterday. He's still got some power. He's got some speed, and he's a guy that's really trying to increase those power numbers, lift the ball in the air, get it to the outfield a little bit more, but he's hitting better than 290 over his last 55, 60 games. He has seven multi-hit games over his last 17 games played. So he's really starting to play really well as the weather gets warmer. I think Brett Beatty, of course, is a name that's been in the major leagues before. Some New York Mets fans are a little sour on Brett because he's struggled in the big leagues, but he's only 24 years old. And I think once he gets another opportunity in the major leagues, he's another guy that's really going to develop. And then on the pitching side, the guy who's starting today for Syracuse, Blade Tidwell. He is the number 2 pitching prospect in the Mets organization after Christian Scott. He's a guy that, might not completely blow you away with strikeouts, but he continues to pitch to contact. He still has that stuff you talk about where he'll get the chases with some of his pitches. And we're really looking forward to how he develops on the pitching side of things over these next couple of weeks, because Christian Scott has already gotten to the big leagues. We saw him earlier this week in Syracuse, and I think Tidwell is another guy that Mets fans are really excited to eventually see in New York, maybe later this season.
Just quick thoughts on the New York Mets organization and the city of Syracuse with the history of AAA baseball there.
Yeah, I mean, much like Buffalo, Syracuse has a long and storied history of minor league baseball dating all the way back to the 1800s with the Syracuse Stars, a team that actually played in the majors, so for a year or two. So there's definitely been a long history of professional baseball in Syracuse, and all throughout, whether it's been with the Toronto Blue Jays organization or the Washington Nationals or now with the New York Mets, it's definitely a town that takes pride in its AAA baseball team. The New York Mets have been awesome. A lot of people were, at least worried. You never know with change what is going to come. It was a team that was community owned for so many decades, and then the New York Mets end up, buying the team so they can move their top minor league affiliate closer to New York, and it's been awesome. Anybody who had some reservations about that move, those reservations are completely gone. Mets have been an awesome partner. They have done, everything they can, whether it's putting money into the ballpark, putting great players in Syracuse, and being a great partner for our staff and for our community, where I think you've got a lot of folks in Syracuse, New York. It's been known for so long as a Yankees town, even as a Boston Red Sox town, but the New York Mets are really putting their footprint, and I don't think people quite knew just how many Mets fans were in Syracuse, and there's many more that are are being created by coming out to Syracuse Mets games.
What's the best way for my audience to get tickets for our Syracuse Mets game?
Yeah, so go into our website, syracusemets.com. It's some of the most affordable tickets anywhere in baseball. If you look at some of the statistics, and the best promotion that we love to throw out there, maybe two of them. One are $1 Thursdays. You get a $1 soda, $2 hot dog, and a $3 16-ounce beer, which is always a fan favorite. And then on Sundays, it's a kids eat free family Sunday. So any kids 12 and under, with the ticket to the game, they get a free hot dog, free soda, free popcorn, and a free ice cream, which is always great on those warm summer Sundays in Syracuse. Plus, the kids can run the bases after the game. So SyracuseMets.com if anyone wants to learn more about our promotions and our ticket information.
And finally, where can my audience follow you on social media? And what time is your broadcast today?
Yeah, so with the game at 1:05 today, our pregame coverage begins at 12:50. You can listen to all of our games at thescore1260.com. You can also listen on the TuneIn Radio app, and you can follow the Mets on social media at Syracuse Mets. SYR Mets Radio is our radio account, and my social media account is TrickyCNS7.
Well, Michael, I want to say thank you so much for doing this, and continued success in the second half with the Syracuse Mets, and hope to see you in Syracuse this summer.
All right. Thanks so much, Chris. I really appreciate you and your audience.
Good morning. All right, guys, that was courtesy of my YouTube channel. That was Michael Tricarico, the play-by-play voice of the Syracuse Mets on the Score 1260 in Syracuse, New York. And then Syracuse Mets will be back in Buffalo in a couple weeks, back to Salem Field as well. So I'm going to hopefully check out a game, hopefully in July and August in Syracuse at NBT Bank Stadium in Syracuse. And the Syracuse Mets are the top farm team of the New York Mets, who are playing much better baseball lately. And if you've never been to a AAA game in Syracuse or at Salem Field in Buffalo, check it out. It's affordable entertainment, and a lot of these guys, not all of them will make the major leagues, but you'll see some future major league stars there, and a lot of talented, competitive players as well. And the Bisons do a great job with their game day presentations. And I'm looking forward to going up to Syracuse this summer and checking out the Syracuse Mets. And again, that was Michael Tricarico from 1260 The Score in Syracuse, New York, for that interview I did last weekend when I was in Buffalo for covering the Bisons game against the Mets as well. Anyone who's looking for their forever friend and pet and who's in the Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge, Guelph area, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. 519-623-7722, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. I am a dog walker volunteer there, so if you want to volunteer with the shelter in the future, you can do it through their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. And they are doing a 50-50 monthly, 50-50 draw monthly with the Cambridge District Humane Society. All proceeds go to all the shelter programs there as well. And you can get your tickets at the Cambridge Humane Society at 1615 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, or again, the website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. And all the pet profiles are on the website as well. So again, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society. And all the information is down on my ticker. As always, live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, hosted by yours truly, Chris Pame, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. Just type in Chris Pame, follow me there, and you can watch this show there as well. And also, guys, I am on Cameo. So if you want a personalized video from yours truly, type in cameo.com and then type in my name, Chris Pame. All proceeds from my personalized video messages from cameo.com will go to my radio and media work as well. And I'm looking forward to doing a video request for you, pep talk, birthday wishes, or if you guys have questions about my radio show and my media work, would be great. So again, check me out on cameo.com, Chris Pame as well. Speaking of that, I have a website on beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. All my social media sites, all my digital content, and my previous radio shows are on beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. And remember to hit that subscribe notification as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show again is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, they have a summer upgrade event going on at Barry Cullen Chevrolet. A 2024 Trailblazer, 5.49% financing for up to 72 months. More details at barrycullen.com. And I'm still quite happy with my 2023 Chevy Trailblazer RS that I purchased a year and a half ago from Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Great on gas. And it's also very comfortable. And I just love all the features of the Chevy Trailblazer. It's a smaller SUV, but for me, it just works out very well. So again, guys, you can pop down at the dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West here in the Guelph Auto Mall, or check out their website, barrycullen.com. New Live with CDP merchandise coming this summer. I'm hoping for August to have new logo and new T-shirts coming out. So more details to follow soon. Also, guys, I am a full-time content creator on TikTok at Live with CDP. Check out my TikTok page at Live with CDP. Player, coaches interviews, and a lot of content I do for my media work, freelance media work I do for professional sports teams. And I want to say thank you to my 2,280 followers on TikTok. So check me out on TikTok. If you like my content, make sure you hit that follow notification. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as yours truly, check out StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, or they have plans like what I'm on, the professional plan, which is $49 US a month. And if you're a business that does a lot of webinars or podcasting, StreamYard.com and hit the contact the sales department for pricing for businesses as well. And I've been with StreamYard just under 4 years, and I'm very happy with them. And they have great customer service. And to me, it makes your podcast radio show look more professional. So StreamYard.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, and now available on YouTube Music. So check out YouTube Music, the app, and type in Live with CDP Sports Talk and hit that follow for notifications. So again, my show is now on audio platform YouTube Music as well. Finally, you guys can email or text Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpame19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And before we wrap this up, the next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, sponsored by barrycullen.com, on Wednesday, July 10th at 10 a.m. Eastern, with special guest Nadia Hussein. She is the founder and CEO of Brave Zone, and she's certified in mindfulness and hypnotherapy. So we're going to talk about the mindset And we're also going to talk a little bit about dating in 2024 as well. So I hope you guys can tune in. My guest, I met her through TikTok. Her name again is Nadia Hussein, founder and CEO of her own company, Brave Zone. You can check out her website at bravezone.ca. She does life coaching as well as working on your mindset and does a little bit of hypnotherapy. And we're going to find out a little bit more of that as well. So I'm excited to have Nada on my show on Wednesday, July 10th, again at 10 a.m. in the morning. And if you want to find out more about the show, just check me out on social media as well. Her website, again, Nadia's website is bravezone.ca. So I'm excited to have her as a guest for the first time on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest this morning, Sal Capaccio from WGR 550 in Buffalo, New York. He was just on the radio for 4 hours this morning with Sneaky Joe DiBiase from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And now he's just recording a podcast he does with Matt from a local Buffalo TV station as well. And I'll give you the link. It is Game Day in Buffalo. It is chtbl.com/game day in Buffalo, and Sal and Matt do that podcast as well. And Sal is normally on the radios. Normally he's on the radio Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. with the Extra Point Show. But this week he's helping out with filling in for Jeremy White, who his wife just had a baby. Congratulations to Jeremy White and his family. So Sal is one of the best. He's been the Buffalo Bills sideline reporter, I believe, since 2013, and he will be back out at St. Fisher's University in Pittsford, New York on July 24th for the Buffalo Bills training camp as well. By the way, guys, before we wrap this show up, the next Argo Bounce Live audio show, episode 5, will be this week with Nick Small, my co-host, myself. The date and time to be announced. I'm trying to confirm a date and time with Nick and also get a guest for the Argo Bounce Live audio show, as we're going to break down the Argos 30-23 loss on the road to Saskatchewan and preview their game against the defending Grey Cup champions, Montreal Alouettes, who are 5-0 this Thursday night, 7:30 in Montreal. It's going to be a really tough game as well. And the CFL last night, BC defeated Hamilton 47-28. Hamilton is still 0-5. Edmonton is 0-4. Winnipeg won this weekend, so Winnipeg is now 1-4 as well. But we're heading into week 6 of the Canadian Football League. So the Argo Bounce Live audio show will be back this week. Date and time to be announced, and I'm working on a guest. But again, I want to say thank you to Sal Capaccio from WGR 550 this morning for coming on and talking a little bit about the Buffalo Bills, a little bit about the Sabres, and his podcast show as well. And again, Sal will be at the Sal will be doing his In the House Sal show taped this week, Friday, July 12th, 1 o'clock. Sal's House taping with former Bills receiver Stevie Johnson, who invented a new game called Red Zone Football, and it's at Sports City Buffalo Pub in Buffalo on Niagara Street in Buffalo, New York. And again, his podcast is called It's Always a Game Day Podcast in Buffalo with Sal and Matt. He's recording a new episode there today. And that's about it, guys. And before we wrap this show up, since it's a Buffalo Bills show, the Buffalo Bills open up the regular season on September 8th at home against Arizona at 1 o'clock. September 12th, they're at Miami at 8:15. September 23rd, they're home to the Jaguars at 7:30. And on September 29th, they're at Baltimore at 8:30. So the 2024 Buffalo Bills, I agree with Sal Capaccio, are going to have a much tougher schedule in 2024. And it's going to be an interesting season because this isn't the same Bills team the last 4 years. It's had a lot of success in the regular season. But you know what? As long as they have Sean McDermott there and quarterback Josh Allen, I think the Bills still can be a 10-11 win team in 2024. So yeah, the National Football League training camps open up in a couple weeks, and Buffalo's opens up July 24th. And that's about it, guys. Busy time of the year with the CFL full way, the NFL starting up, and looking forward to some more shows. So again, guys, thanks to Sal Capaccio. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live stream today and on audio platforms, and to WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and to my sponsor, Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership. I hope everybody has a great afternoon, and we'll see you back Wednesday, July 10th at 10 a.m. with my special guest, Nadia Hussein. And we're going to talk a little bit of hypnotic therapy as well, and a little bit of coaching, life coaching, and some dating in 2024 as well. And that's about it. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and thanks for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk on WQEE 99.1 FM, and sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph.